Captain Toad can make you think like a cop. And I'm talking about like one of these guys here, a real life detective. I believe that games can be so much more than just waste of time. They can teach you important things about economics, history, philosophy. And Captain Toad? Well, Captain Toad teaches us exactly the particular skills that we need to pass the written and psychological portions of any police academy exam across the country. I'll explain all that in a minute, but first of all, I just want to say that I owe an apology to Captain Toad. This game is an absolute banger of a game. It is so much fun, and I have been missing out. If you haven't tried it, I strongly recommend it, and I hope by the end of this video, you also understand the kind of things that you can learn while you're playing this game. Okay, so let's start with the cop stuff. If we can learn how to pass these exams, or if we want to learn how to pass these exams, we need to know what's in them, right? So let's get a brief overview. Some of the things that they test for, well, first of all, it'd be reading comprehension. Can't be a cop if you can't read. That's hopefully obvious. Logical and analytical reasoning, that's number 2. If you want to be a cop, you need to be able to quickly and accurately assess pretty much any situation and be able to understand the different outcomes that come with the different decisions that you make while you're in that situation. If you're a detective, this means just being able to solve cases quickly and accurately. The third thing that they test for, it would be memory, spatial awareness, and observational skills. This is stuff like being able to recognize a pattern in something that's going on around you, seeing things in different dimensions, being able to understand different perspectives, and being able to accurately assess those perspectives so that you can make right decisions while you're going through these different situations. The fourth thing that they test for, and this is one of the more important things, is emotional stability. You shouldn't be a cop if you can't keep your temper under control. That's obvious. All right, so now we've set the stage, but how can playing Captain Toad actually help us with any of that? So let's start from the most important, shall we? Logical and analytical reasoning. This game is literally just analyzing a problem, a stage, and then trying to figure out a clever way to solve it with your restrictions clearly listed out before you even start the stage. You do this over and over and over again until you 100% it, until you get all the stars and all the stamps. This is not just sharpening your logical reasoning, but it's actually giving you the framework that you need in order to start logical reasoning if you've never done it before. There's new restrictions every single time, every single map, every single page that you play. This is teaching our brains that you need to adapt in order to win. You need to figure out a different way to do something. And well, like I said, it's teaching you a new way to think, and it's teaching you a better way to think in a lot of cases. So what about memory and spatial awareness and observational skills, all that? Now, if you haven't played this game before, you should. But if you haven't, I'll try to explain a little bit. If you played it just a little bit, you understand pretty quickly that this game really rewards spotting something small out of place, remembering where that thing was, and then being able to route a path to it. This is just all three of those things combined, constantly repeated over and over in each level. On top of that, probably the coolest feature of this game is the isometric map layout and the way that you control the camera. You need to be able to envision a map in one perspective and then move your perspective to a different perspective, still with that old perspective in mind, so that you can actually navigate Toad through the level. You need to do all this while you're still observing for what's around you so that you can find quick and fast ways to either find little diamonds in the course or get to the star at the end of the level. Being able to do this in the real world is actually a super important skill. This is present in so many different professions. Piloting, air controlling, stock market trading, just to name a few. Okay, so that's neat, but what about emotional intelligence? Like, how can this game actually teach us how to be emotionally stable? That's crazy, right? Well, I actually think that there is something here. So again, if you haven't played Captain Toad, it might be hard to imagine. The whole premise of this game is that you're trying to solve these different problems, these platforming puzzles that you might have already seen before in a different platforming game before. But the big catch is you are prohibited from using some of the most, I don't know, prolific and important parts of any platforming game ever, those being running and jumping, forcing us as players to reimagine what it's like to solve a puzzle without these super basic mechanics that literally every game since the concept of jumping was imagined in a game is patience and learning how to solve a problem differently than how we're used to. Not only this, but because of these restrictions, you'll often fall into different pitfalls that you weren't ready for or weren't expecting to. When you fall in these pitfalls, you're tested again, because now you have to slowly walk all the way through the entire level to get back to the top so that you can try just that one little section again, and maybe you fail it again. This is emotional testing. This is patience. This is learning how to deal with those emotions when you fall. So, as I said in the beginning of this video, I believe that games can be so much more than just wastes of time. They can be important tools that teach us about philosophy, history, economics, time management, people management, spatial awareness, how to become a millionaire, how to drive, how to pack your groceries better, and so many other things. Now, I've created a system that I think is pretty good at extracting exactly what's important about a game, what it can teach you, if that thing is actually good for learning, and how good that game is at teaching you that thing that it wants to teach you. I rate all of these games kind of on a weighted scale with a couple of things in mind. These things in mind for each review are problem solving, real life skills, empathy building, the message, and of course, enjoyability. Because if the game wasn't fun, we could just play a math game and we could learn that way. But no, that's not what we're doing here. We're playing fun games and we're trying to figure out, if the fun game can actually teach us something in the real world. That's the whole point. Each of these scores will contribute, like I said, a weighted total to the overall score, and we can use that overall score to determine if the game is actually good at teaching us something or how it ranks against the other games that I've tested with this review system. If you want to learn more about this review or any of the others, you can check out my Patreon. All the reviews there are free, but if you'd like to support me, that's a great place to do it. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe because we've got so much more content coming. Shorts, all that. It's really fun. We'd love to have you around. Also, check out any of the other socials, Discord, all that fun stuff. I'm around. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you're watching these videos. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start it off, as always, with problem solving. And this gets a 7 out of 10. I know in the very beginning of the video, I said that the whole game was just a problem to be solved over and over again. And I believe that. It's getting a 7 out of 10 because, well, I think as we play the game, it's pretty easy to understand what Nintendo wants from us. And when we understand what Nintendo wants for us, it's really easy to just kind of breeze through the rest of the game. I'm not saying that the puzzles are necessarily easy. The quality and uniqueness of them are really, really high. But, like I said, once you figure out exactly what Nintendo wants, it's pretty easy to just be like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, and you just do it. So, it's getting a 7 out of 10. Not terrible. Pretty good. And I think it deserves a 7 out of 10. So, that's where it gets. Next up, we got real life skills, and this also gets a 7 out of 10. This is the whole point of the video, right? It can teach you so many things about how to be a cop. But yeah, it actually is. It's really good at teaching you different things about, well, how to see a perspective in a different way, how to approach a problem, how to solve a problem. It gives you the framework that you need in order to actually solve problems that are real and harder in your real life. I think these are extremely, extremely good things. Next up, we got empathy building, and this gets a surprising 5 out of 10. Not terrible. And honestly, due to the lack of story or like dialogue in general, I would typically give a game like this a 0. But like I said earlier about the whole emotional stability thing, I think that applies to empathy building as well. Sometimes you can make one small misstep and you have to repeat the entire course over and over again. And because of that, I think that this game does kind of teach us how to control our tempers a little bit. But what this game is really good at teaching you is that, well, like the setbacks that you face, they might be the entire level, but it's not that big of a deal. If you push through, you will get to the end and you'll start to learn that maybe I don't need to be frustrated when those things happen. All right, next up, we got the message, and this gets a surprising 7 out of 10. Now, like I said with empathy building, most of the time, a game without any story or dialogue is typically going to get a 0 in this category, but not this one. And let me tell you why. The thing that it's teaching us in this game through kind of the way that you play is that you might not be as tall as Bowser or be able to jump as high as Mario or Luigi, but you can still accomplish everything that you need to if you just try to find a new way about it. This is, I think, a super important lesson. Throughout your life, you will face trials of many kinds, but the testings of yourself will develop perseverance, and learning where your limits are will make you a better person. Learning not to use your shortcomings as an excuse, but instead overcoming the obstacles that are in front of you anyway, will make you a successful and a happier person in your life in general. This is awesome. If you can learn this in this game, this is such a cool thing. And so I think it's deserving of a good score. Also, I think it's kind of a hard thing to miss. That's kind of the whole point, right? You're Toad. You can't jump. You can't run. You can't do this, but still, you can solve all the problems. That's your life too. You can do it. I believe in you. All right, and then finally, we got enjoyability, because like I said, we're playing fun games, figuring out what's up with that, and this gets an 8 out of 10. This was so much fun to play, and this is actually one of the very few games that I've played for these review things and then wanted to go back and 100% it, and I actually did. I also played this game with my wife, who is not a gamer by any stretch of the word, but we had an awesome time, and I honestly think that it's one of the best co-op experiences that I've ever had. Highly recommend it for that. Overall, Captain Toad is getting a 7 out of 10 on this scale, and that's pretty good, actually. This score means that you can learn something while playing this game. The game is good at teaching you that thing that it can teach you, and the thing that it can teach you is actually worth learning in your real life. Captain Toad is getting a big thumbs up from me. A 7 out of 10 is an awesome score, and I'm super happy to play it, super happy to give it this score. Finally, I just wanna kind of cap this off by saying that Captain Toad is not too interesting in this game. He is perfectly boring in every single way. I know that I was kind of hard on him in the Buddhist video before, but I want to retract that statement, because I actually think that Captain Toad totally fits within all of the other Toads, because he's not really exploring. I mean, he is exploring, but it kind of almost feels like it's not really like it's his choice. You know what I mean? He's just kind of doing it because he's there, and that actually kind of does fit him in with the rest of the Toads. So I want to apologize to all the Toads that I offended before. You guys fit in with the rest of the Toad. Captain Toad, he's one of you guys for sure. This is super fun to play. This has been Captain Toad Can Make You Think Like a Cop. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week.